Everybody's trying to save money these days. One of our biggest frustrations was seeing what we consider to be inferior foam product being used by other wind turbine manufacturers. I was out in Colorado, in fact, 3 weeks ago, and I was driving down I-25 to the airport. And sure enough, I saw a big Vestas unit coming up. I almost did a U-turn on the highway, but decided not to. I wanted to go hijack the guy and take his cushioning apart, see what he was using. My belief is this opportunity will be here in the future, though. What we also did with DVIRC, which was really important, is, again, about March of 2009, was pretty much the low spot for us in this last recession. You know, my outside sales guys were saying there's nothing out there. You know, you hear the stuff, the sky's falling, nobody wants to talk to me anymore. What we decided to do was to, again, hire the DVIRC group for a project of finding out how we're doing out there, what our customers say about us. And so we made an assignment where our two outside sales guys and our manufacturers reps submitted contact names. And we listed them in terms of contacts where we thought there was a growing relationship, contacts where the relationship was stable, and contacts where there was a decline in the relationship. And we had a series of questions to ask them. Now, to me, it was very important to have a third party calling them up, because it's pretty tough for an outside sales guy to call up a customer and say, how are we doing? I don't think it's very candid, the information you'll get. So what we wanted to do was find out what the customer was thinking. We were trying to get perceptions on the quality of the goods, what their accessibility was to us, how we were doing from a customer service standpoint. Were we courteous and helpful? How about our product knowledge? If we're supposedly a solutions house, how good was the knowledge that we were giving them? How responsive were we? How fast was the service? Were we getting answers? Were we getting quotes back fast enough? And it took about 3 months to assemble all this information. And we got a very good report. In fact, I have a binder over on my table you can look at if you'd like to later on. It was very useful for us, especially for the accounts where there was a declining relationship, because we learned some things. One of the things we learned about this process is, which was very profound for me, and Ray was touching on it, not all these customers want to be called the same way anymore. We'll talk more about that in a minute. It's interesting. The report did confirm that what we thought our strengths were still our strengths. And we heard from the customer once again that, you know what, you could be faster. Great, we understand that. What we also learned was we weren't losing many customers due to price. That was good. We were providing good value out there. Very helpful to know, especially in a recession. What we decided to do in 2009, even though we were down about 13% in revenue, was to put more skin in the game so we can go even faster. We had 3 water jet cutting machines. And just a quick story about what we do with water jets is, if you're a design engineer and you email us a DXF file by 10:30 in the morning, we are able to ship sample gaskets to you that evening. If you give us your FedEx account number, your UPS Red account number, we'll ship the gasket that night. Just like Ray was suggesting, the 3-day SLA, well, sometimes they get that SLA and they say, okay, I'm going to put this together. Ooh, that's not going to quite fit. Or worse yet, in our situation, they'll get a housing made up, their design's all done, They put it all together and realized, oh my gosh, either we didn't get the gasket, they didn't buy one, they didn't specify one, or what they bought isn't sufficient. And so we're the Rodney Dangerfields of industry, the gasket manufacturer, okay? It's just a hunk of rubber. How important is that? Well, that's the way it is until somebody needs a gasket in a big hurry. Or if they have a gasket that's leaking because they weren't specifying the material correctly. We can suddenly go from the low person on the totem pole to the most important person in the supply chain in a big hurry too. So anyway, what we did was we added an additional water jet cutting system to further boost our responsiveness. What also doesn't show up in the slide is we decided in 2009 that was the time to invest in the business. We had a belief it was coming back. We actually went into one of the areas of our shop and using a lean Kaizen event, by the way, plug it again, we designed a mezzanine that increased our floor capacity by 35%. We put a lot of offices, lunchrooms on top. We really thought about the flow of how product would go. And let's face it, 2009 was a great time to buy a prefab structured mezzanine. Got a really good deal. What we've seen as a result is our manufacturing business, especially fabrication, is up 20 to 25%. So we're seeing a good boost. And it's all about the speed. It's all about responsiveness. We also realized that every once in a while our existing applications engineer was swamped. Our estimator sometimes was swamped. A lot going on. And if you're the customer who's calling in saying, hey, I need help, and you're put on hold, well, that's not serving our overall mission of being faster and faster, more responsive. So we actually have hired a second applications engineer. So again, we're boosting our responsiveness, trying to go faster. What we also know is, as fast as we are today, is not going to be fast enough for tomorrow. We're being asked to do or to pull rabbits out of the hat all the time. And so it's always a challenge. We're continuing to have internal lean Kaizens to speed up aspects of the supply chain, what we're trying to do better. We've added to our website, in terms of the last item here, several new marketing communication efforts. We've added some brochures. Let me get to lessons learned. I think it's the crux of what I really want to talk about anyway. We aren't really a manufacturer, okay? We make the stuff that we provide. But I keep telling our people that we're really a service company. We have to behave like a service company. Sure, we make our money by cutting a gasket or molding a component and providing it to a customer. That's how we get paid. But we have to behave like a service company. And we have to realize that as ridiculous as the lead times are that we're being asked to fulfill, that's what the customer is asking for. And so it's up to us to figure that out. We have some pretty interesting conversations around a place about that. You know, it's unreasonable. Yeah, it's unreasonable, but it's a good customer asking for it. Why can't they design it sooner? Well, it's because they just finished their housing. They need it now. They didn't know they needed the gasket. So these conversations occur a lot. Again, on the last point, communicate with the right people. We find that mechanical engineers should be our target. But here's the challenge with that. Mechanical engineers don't like to have their time wasted, okay? They're not the kind of people that you can call up and say, hey, how was your weekend? What they're really saying is, get off the phone, I'm busy, okay? Engineering departments, all of us, We're all working harder. There's less time for the soft stuff. And we've had to get that, okay? And what's really hard for our people is the relationship has changed. It's no longer as friendly as it used to be. People are under stress. Responsiveness equals speed plus accuracy. 10, 12 years ago, we could do things pretty quickly on occasion, but there was no process geared toward being quicker. So there was no real accuracy or consistency to that speed thing we were doing. So again, we had to go in and do some engineering in our company using lean. We worked on the quoting system. We also had at least 2 Kaizen events on the whole sampling process. We now have racks of materials set aside that are off the books just for cutting samples, for making samples. We have probably 30% of our water jet capacity set aside right now for making samples. That's what we do. Heck, it's a great thing. If we get a sample gasket out to a customer and we identify what the material is and what the adhesive backing is, guess what happens? We get on the drawing. Good play. So we're using lean to speed up what could be said as our marketing model. Yes, we're using it on the plant floor, but we're also taking lean into the office big time. And for those of you who've been adopting lean in your businesses, you'll also nod your head when you say that's part of the messy part too, of lean. It's getting into the office. The hardest challenges from our best customers may lead to your next capability. We have some customers that challenge us all the time. We do discriminate, though, between customers. I mean, if you're just coming in off the street, you're not going to get us to move very fast. But if you're one of our top 20 customers, we have a term called a hero customer, you can get us to move real fast. And some of our very best customers have gotten us to do some handstands for them, especially when we think that solving this problem is going to lead to more strategic capability. So again, I say that let these guys challenge you if you're a really good customer. Continue identifying niche markets. That's where your margin is, okay? One of the new niche markets, for example, we're going after is LED lighting fixtures. We've seen something popping up there right now, LED lighting fixtures. Lighting fixtures that illuminate parking lots, okay, or areas outside. We found that they need a certain type of silicone gasket, and so we're going to go in deep and find some more of those guys making LED lighting. Again, establish our company as a valued resource for mechanical engineers in the niche markets. Let's talk more about the mechanical engineers. They don't want to be called on the phone necessarily. They don't really want to be spammed either. One of the challenges we're trying to figure out, and I don't have an answer for you, okay, but we're trying a lot of different things right now, is we're trying to figure out how to develop a relationship with the mechanical engineering community that works best for them, okay? A relationship that allows Stockwell to show up as a resource for them when they need it, okay, when they need it. And what's hard is if you have an outside sales team like we do, and you have a team of manufacturers reps, it's really hard on those guys right now because they're making phone calls, trying to set up appointments, and they're getting no most of the time. And so we're trying to figure out how to manage that disappointment that the sales guys feel by being told no a lot. That people don't want to see them.